As you know, guys, earlier this weekend, the NFL held their annual coaches and owners meetings. Um, Everyone, for the most part, showed up. Not everyone at once. Some coaches came in a little later. But for the most part, our coaches, the most important coaches and owners that we need to deal with is right in our backyard. John Mara, Steve Tisch, owners of the New York Football Giants, as well as GM Joe Shane and head coach Brian Daboll. They were there amongst the other owners and coaches across the NFL. And analysts and reporters finally got a word from John Mara, Giants owner, about the state of the franchise. And I just want to share a little bit of info of what he said and how it went. First, he addressed, obviously, the big horse in the room, Saquon Barkley signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. He said on that moment when he heard the news that Saquon is signing a contract with the Eagles to be their next running back, he was, quote unquote, sick. Sick to his stomach, sick just all around, kind of like I was that day. And he's the owner, so I could not imagine how pissed off he was. But someone on the WFAN network brought up a good point. John Mara, it's all well and good that you can be sick, but you had the ability to give him what he wanted. And you didn't meddle, which I'm proud of you for. You know deep down that you cannot afford to pay a running back that type of money in the situation this team is currently in. We are way more than a running back away from being a true good team. So I'm happy that you finally learned your lesson. You didn't meddle. You let the GM do what he was supposed to do. That's why you hired him in the first place. But you did say that it got you sick, and I appreciate it. I mean, quite frankly, you believed that he was going to be retiring a Giant, a franchise staple in this vaunted franchise history. But that turned out not to be the case. He is now across 95. He is in Philadelphia. He is the enemy, and he is dead to us. So like I said, fuck you, Saquon Barkley. Fuck the Philadelphia Eagles. And fuck everybody in Philly, because they are the rival. They are the enemy. Other questions were asked about Daniel Jones. He believes in Daniel. He thinks the 2022 season was the real deal, Daniel. Obviously, it ended how we didn't want it, a smashing defeat by the Philadelphia Eagles nonetheless. But he understands the concern Giants brass has. 2 neck injuries back-to-back, coming off an ACL injury. That's 3 injuries in 2 short seasons. For a team that just cannot get out of their own way, for a team that just fails to protect the quarterback, does not matter who is taking snaps under center. The offensive line has been atrocious. And that was another key point brought up by reporters, asking him how he felt about it's been more than a decade plus, and the Giants have been unable to fix or produce a well above average offensive line, and he said that was ridiculous, which I am happy for that he knows that this is a fucking embarrassment to the state that this team is in. This once proud fan has been dealing with nothing but fucking losing miserable seasons pretty much year in and year out ever since Eli Manning retired. 2 horrible head coach hires in Shermer and Joe Judge. Maybe he got it this time around. Maybe with Daboll and Schoen. Who knows? 2 years, 1 playoff win. Kind of going backwards, but nonetheless, better than what we've had to deal with in the prior events. He was told this has been the best quarterback class that we have seen in a while and will see in a while. He understands the need for a good quarterback, a quarterback that is reliable, available, unlike Daniel Jones, who continues to get hurt, no fault of his own. The team around him sucks. The offensive line sucks. He gets 0 protection. He is one of the most sacked and pressured quarterbacks in the National Football League. So I'm happy John Mara also pinpoints that the team around him just fucking sucks. He has been asked about how Daboll, his reputation is perceived with the Wink Martindale fallout. He expressed that he was very pleased with Brian Daboll. He is happy that he is the coach of his New York Football Giants. He said sometimes he would like to see him tone it down a little bit, but he wants Daboll to be himself. That's the most important thing. He wants the coach to be himself. but maybe tone it down, dial it back a little bit. And Dable was asked that same question, and he even said he's just a human first. He's a person. He gets fired up. He's fiery. He's very energetic. He'll get in your face, but he realizes maybe he needs to tone it down a little bit. And I believe he will work on that because Tom Coughlin also did as well. He has given Joe Schoen and Brian Dable no playoff mandate this year. He understands what is in front of us. He understands the team that he has. It's not looking pretty, but he understands the process, and he is going to trust and put his complete faith and hope and confidence in Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll moving forward. So I don't expect, unless it goes terribly wrong very, very quickly, I don't expect Joe Schoen or Brian Daboll to be losing their jobs, especially this year. If we do indeed draft a quarterback, you got uncertainty in that position. It makes sense to draft one. I know they're loosely trying to figure out the possibility of trading up to the top 3 or 4th pick. It seems like those teams there are pretty set and adamant about drafting a quarterback themselves. So maybe we're looking at a Michael Penix later in the rounds, maybe a Bo Nix, but I really don't see, unless barring any miracle, I don't see us being able to trade in the top 3 or 4 selections to draft a top 4 quarterback, which is okay. Take the best player available and go from there. But that's pretty much what Joe Schoen had to, what John Mara had to say. As you know, I fucking have disdain for this Giants owner as of late. Horrible hires here and there. Pre-medium Pepsis, that was a huge debacle. But that's about it. Any other questions? Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on what John Mara had to say. And then I'll come back later on in a little bit and talk about what Brian Daboll had to say. As always, enjoy the rest of your night, and let's go G-Men.